Hello, welcome back to the sideboard here at the StarCityGame.com Open Series in Kansas City. I'm Nick Miller, alongside
Jeff Hoogland.
Of course, the man who is always in the sideboard. Number 17 on the leaderboard, tied with Tenjum, Andrew Tenjum, who...
16 and a half.
Yes. With the tiebreakers, you know, I think he has the higher invitational finish, so he gets the edge there.
Sure.
But you can take that points lead today with this wonderful Jund brew that you won an IQ with a couple weeks back, and now you're running it back here. How you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. The IQ that I won with this deck was the week before M15 release, so we got some really sweet M15 upgrades to make the mana base flow even smoother, which is great.
And of course you need the mana base to be smooth because you're playing this Jund deck with Nightveil Specters in the main, which is a card you need Urborg to help you cast from time to time.
We have triple black spells, we have double green spells, we have double red spells, and Mythium Mortars occasionally is a triple red spell. So it's a little ambitious, but generally it works.
Right. It wouldn't be a Hoogland deck without all kinds of wackiness going on. You've got Evolving Wilds in here. Not a lot of people are onto this yet.
Everyone said they were going to print fetch lands in M15, and they did. So Evolving Wilds is sweet in this deck for a couple of reasons. The first is that it gets synergy with Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. So in addition to being a fixing card for us, it's also an untapped land a lot of the time when we need it, both because of the two Urborgs we play and because all the other black decks are playing Urborg. So they fix our mana for us.
Right. You said on camera you needed an untapped mana to Monstrous or Stormwrath Dragon, and Evolving Wilds was the way to do it.
Yep, my opponent was kind enough to play an Urborg, and I untapped and played my Evolving Wilds and made 7 mana. Evolving Wilds is also really sweet with Courser of Krufix, so it has 2 interactions, and the first is the obvious one in that you gain 2 life with it. You get 2 enter the battlefield triggers. The other one, though, is since Courser is showing you your top card of your deck, you get to shuffle away bad cards when there's a blank on top.
Right.
That's what makes Courser really powerful and modern, and I think having access to 2 Evolving Wilds makes that worthwhile in this deck.
And you have one of each basic land. Well, not one of each because you're playing a billion colors.
Yeah,
but
one swamp, one forest, one mountain. And it may seem a little bit light for basics in case you draw a couple, but again, the fact that we play Urborg means you don't have to always sacrifice Evolving Wilds to make mana with it.
Right. Sometimes it's just a swamp.
Yep.
And of course, you've got your combo that you've been playing since they've been printed, basically, with Silmacaryatid, Courser of Krufix.
Yep.
And then your beaters, Stormbright Dragon, Desecration Demon.
We basically have a bunch of must-answer threats in the deck. You're gonna, on 3, most decks have to kill the Nightveil Spectre because in addition to the Caryatids, we also have 2 mana confluence in the mana base, so we can cast any spells. We cast their Advents, we cast their Sphinx's Revelations, everything. Demon kills them very quickly if they don't remove it. Same thing for dragons. You basically just go up the curve and do you have the answer? Do you have the answer?
The mana this deck can produce allows the Spectre to basically draw a card for you, because I was talking with Richard Wynn, who was playing this deck last week in Baltimore, and he was casting like Detention Spheres and just all kinds of wacky cards that you wouldn't think this deck could cast off his Nightveil Spectre.
Yep.
So very powerful there. You've got 2 Xenagos.
So that's a card I'm playing for the first time today, and basically I wanted an additional hedge against both the Revelation decks and the mono black decks. It's another card that they have to answer that will produce constant advantage if left unchecked.
Right. You've got a slew of kill spells between Hero's Downfall, Mythium Mortars, Dreadbore, Abrupt Decay, Golgari Charm. Just a ton of different ways to kill different things.
We just basically want to be flexible. The Golgari Charm is a sweet main deck card because in addition to countering Supreme Verdict, it's also very, very good against like the Sly decks.
Sometimes you just kill 3 X1 creatures.
Correct. Although I think the biggest all-star in the main deck that catches a lot of people by surprise are definitely the Rakdos' returns. Not a lot of people are expecting those out of the main deck, and the number of times, like in a Jundmere when they're playing traditional monsters, get their last 3 cards, kill their Xenagos, it's very powerful. Yeah,
card expected out of the sideboard, but you have 2 copies main.
Correct.
You know, I'm assuming a lot of control players aren't expecting it. Tap out for something, you just eat their hand.
Exactly.
And your card drawing, 2 Underworld connections.
Yeah, because we're so removal dense, we can't play Domri Rod like the Jund Monsters decks typically does, but Underworld Connections is almost arguably more powerful with Courser of Krufix than Domri Rod even is.
Right. All right. Sideboard, more removal.
Yep. I like to give a lot of respect to the aggressive decks. We had that Na'Vi deck that top 8 last weekend as well as the green-white aggro. So there's a couple of Biolites and a few Pharika's Cure. Pharika's Cure really does God's work against the aggro deck.
Pharika's Cure is an absolute beating. I played green-white last week in Baltimore, and like any double Cure hand, you're not having fun.
Yep, it's also very reasonable against the burn decks like Kill Your Phoenix, gain 2 is fantastic.
Of course, more Golgari Charms, Putrefy.
Putrefy is a card I've been advocating for a while. I don't like to play decks that have less than 5 ways to kill an Obsidian, basically in the 75, and that's the best other way to do it.
That's your 5th card with your Hero's Downfalls.
Yep.
Lifebane Zombie, your self-proclaimed most oppressive card in the format.
It definitely is very oppressive, but I mean, our mana base supports it, so we might as well play it. In fact, this deck has a very good Jund Monsters matchup, both because Spectre can cast all of their cards, and we get to play zombies on our board.
Right. Whereas they're not getting to play zombie, mainly black for removal spells.
Yep.
You go the full distance grabbing Pelucranos and things like that. 4 Mistcutter Hydra. I see a lot of people flexing in different decks. 3, full 4.
If you want to play the card, you're going to want to see the card. And I had someone ask me actually why I wasn't playing a split between like Skylasher, and the honest answer is Hydra is just so much better against the control decks.
Yep.
It basically gives you
double duty.
4 more Rakdos's returns where you're just like, oh, it's in the late game, fireball you off the top. Like, better have the Celestial Flare.
Right. If your deck is not already suited to beat control very well, Mistcutter does both halves basically, where Skylasher is a deck a card that goes in decks that are good against control already to shore up mono blue.
I have a couple of people ask me what's the reason to play this deck over like with typical Jund Monsters, and honestly I think the biggest reason is the fact that if you look at our threat base, we're really good at blanking opposing Lifebane Zombies, because that card's a very popular main deck choice. If we're on the play, we can get all of our green creatures out underneath it, and on the draw, I even typically board a Courser or 2 out against the Lifebane Zombie decks, so it's just a 3-1 against us. That's embarrassing.
Very importantly, like, your huge threats cannot be Lifebane.
Correct.
And Desecration Demon and Stormbreath Dragon, as well as Xenagos, which is pretty good. All right, so if you're moving forward or somebody wants to know why to play this deck, other than just the Jund Monsters variety, why would you recommend this, and like, what is this tuned to really beat?
We have a very reasonable game against Mono Black because that deck really wants to get into a top deck mode, and between our connections and our Rakdos's returns, we're able to get there with an advantage. In addition to that, if we do just get into straight top deck mode, we have more powerful draws in our deck than they do. We 1-for-1 each other a bunch, and then my Dragon coming off the top is a lot more powerful than their Gray Merchant coming off the top a lot of the time.
Definitely. What are you trying to fade with this deck?
The blue-white control decks can be tough, and if they're playing Planetary Cleansing, you probably just shouldn't even play the match. Like, it's really very hard to, when they don't have Detention Spheres for your Abrupt Decay and Golgari Charms to really interact with, Detention Sphere or Planetary Cleansing just mops the board with you.
All right. Well, you're 4-0 so far, correct?
Yep.
And what all have you played today?
I've beaten Jund Monsters, green-white aggro. We played against Junk on camera in round 3, and then this round I played against the green Splash Black Devotion deck that Tenjum and Kent Ketter are playing.
Yeah. All right, well, it looks pretty well suited. You had great success with it at the IQ, so you're grabbing points everywhere you can.
Yep, in matches of Sanctioned Magic, I am currently 18-1 with this deck.
Not a bad record.
Not too shabby.
All right, Jeff, well, thanks for sitting down with me here in the sideboard. Stay tuned all weekend long here at StarCityGames.com for all the action in Kansas City.